Hello there. Welcome to my little channel here on the interwebs. That's right. So, I'm actually questioning our governor. Seems like he's making some moves. It's almost like it's a election year coming up. But anyway, so far, here's the results of my poll for Labor Day. Only 9 people have voted. No, it is what it is. But this is not why I'm making the video. This is why Governor Greg Abbott orders a third special session to address redistricting, vaccine mandates, and more. That's right, Greg Abbott is calling lawmakers back to Austin for an anticipated third special legislative session of this year, scheduled to start September 20th. In addition to redrawing the state's political boundaries, a decennial responsibility of legislatures, Abbott tasked lawmakers with allocating $16 billion in federal coronavirus relief funds. Can I get like 1 million or 2 million of that? I wouldn't mind. And revisiting 2 of the prior measures that were unsuccessful this summer. Limiting participation of transgender students, athletes, in school sports, and prohibiting vaccine mandates. Abbott also called on lawmakers to take another stab at the bill that he vetoed earlier this year sought to protect dogs from dangerous restraints, addressing concerns that he raised that the bill micromanage dog owners. Interesting. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, he's just doing what any governors should do. If he vetoes a bill, he should give the opportunity for the state Congress to revisit it to address the concerns that he had. I mean, it's no different than the president vetoing, sending it back to the Congress. Although they normally don't veto, they just send it back to Congress. A threat of veto. Texas legislature now has the opportunity to redraw its boundaries and congressional districts in accordance with the new census numbers, Abbott said in the statement late Tuesday afternoon. In addition to redistricting, there are still issues remaining that are critical to building a stronger and brighter future for all Texans. But Democrats were quick to criticize over his own agenda. You haven't picked on the transgender kids enough this year, Rep. Chris Turner, Democrat Grand Prairie, and councilman of House Democratic Caucus, said in a tweet directed at Abbott. You're dissatisfied at the current rate of COVID-19 spread, hospitalizations, and deaths. You really think you need to do more on these? ? No, let's get something straight. If you want to be transgender and you're over the age of 18, I have no issues. But kids cannot be transgender. Anyone under the age of 17 cannot be transgender. I will not recognize a transgender kid because I think that's child abuse. Now, there's a gray area between 15, 16, all the way up to 17. But in general, kids cannot be transgender. That's all I'm going to say. Now, if you're over the age of 18 and you want to be considered something else, knock yourself out. I'm following actually the tattoo laws. Pretty much says that you really can't get a tattoo unless you're over the age of 18 because it's considered body manipulation. Or mutilation. I forget what it is. Since its delay, the session will follow an intense summer at the Texas Capitol that saw lawmakers deeply divided along the party lines over several priority measures on Abbott's agenda for the first 2 sessions, including the bill to rewrite the election laws that Abbott signed into law Tuesday. A special session focused on redistricting was on the horizon for this fall after it became clear that the 2020 U.S. Census count would be delayed to a pandemic and a legal fight over Trump's administration unsuccessfully attempted to keep people without legal residencies out of the population count This is the one where I'm just kind of scratching my head. I understand the arguments on both sides, and I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. I think both sides have argument or valid points to it. I mean, from one side, you don't want them to determine policies because may elect a couple more people of a political party. But at the same time, they're here whether they're legal or illegal, whether they're green card or work visa. They should have somewhat of a representation. I don't know. Like I said, there's valid arguments on both sides. Data from the count were due to states in April, but weren't delivered until mid-August. Two Democratic state lawmakers sued Abbott in federal court last week, arguing that adding redistricting to a special session agenda violates the Texas Constitution, which requires the process to take during the first regular season after publications of each United States. Decennial census. The next regular census starts in January 2023. Oh. Oh, man. Dude, that is just shady as all heck. Because that means if they don't redo the redistricting, that means Texas cannot get the 2 extra House representation, which means throws everything out of whack, which means that the Democrats that lost their seat in other areas will probably still be able to run. Oh man, that is shady as heck. I mean, there's got to be some special thing right here because it's going to be before an election. We got to get this thing taken care of before the 2022 election. Anyways, just an opposition. I mean, that is kind of. I mean, I get what they're saying, and I think they have legal standing, but at the same time, that means that we're going to have an election without representation, regardless. I mean, I don't know if maybe I'm looking into this too much, but let's say that the other states don't lose their people because we haven't remapped it. So we don't have. So let's say we're allotted to, but we don't elect to. Does that mean that the Texas could appoint someone? I mean, these are like questions I have because we're getting 2 extra House of Representation within Texas due to the census. This is pretty much putting it off until 2024 elections, which would mean to be the second one, which means, let's say the census is done in every 10 years. That'll mean there'll be technically 4 years without someone representing us. Or at least 2 years, or maybe even, around between 2 to 4 years, and then we may actually lose it, and those 2 votes could be the winning decider whether a bill gets passed or not passed. I don't know. It's a very interesting debate to have, and I don't know enough about it to make one argument over the other than it's going to be some shadiness. And of course, we got the transgender students, athletes, or child abuse students, athletes, where their parents let them be transgender. I don't know. I just have issues with this. Well, actually, I have 2 issues with this part because they're under the age of 18, and this part right here, mainly because there's been many people that lost their scholarships because a male decided that they wanted to be females. So they're in high school, they actually won competition. Yes, I understand that it's not a 1-for-1, but there's definitely enough of an advantage to kind of skew the results. And of course, vaccine mandates. I'm talking about vaccine mandates, not the actual vaccine, whether that they're useful or not. YouTube. I'm talking about laws around it. Abbott also said lawmakers to take another pass at the 2 bills that fell short early this year. Late in second special session, Abbott asked the lawmakers to enact legislation prohibiting government entities from mandating COVID-19 vaccinations, and the proposal did not advance before the final gavel fell on the session. Transgender sports proposal also fell short on the second special session after the Texas House Committee did not hold it to a vote on the necessary step to bring it to measure to a full chamber of vote. But the other proposals that were unsuccessful during the prior special sessions were not included in Abbott's new agenda, including a call to ban masks and vaccine mandates in public schools, relief, dollars, and dog tethering. Lawmakers also will be responsible for spending at least $16 billion in federal coronavirus relief funds. I wouldn't mind getting $1 million or $2 million of that, just saying, as promised by Abbott during a regular session. The state budget writers proposed provisions in the state massive 2-year budget that would have reduced Abbott's role in spending federal COVID-19 relief dollars given in the legislature and responsibility. But after those provisions were removed during the budget negotiation, Abbott promised lawmakers that he would ask them to tackle that spending issue during the same special session as redistricting. Abbott also asked lawmakers to revisit Senate Bill 474 from the regular session, which sought to protect dogs from dangerous restraints. Abbott vetoed the proposal over concerns that the bill would be micromanaging dog owners and overly criminalized behavior. The veto received powerful backlash from dog lovers who had worked for 6 years to pass a law prohibiting pet owners from tethering unattended dogs outdoors without providing access to adequate shelter, shade, and water, forcing dogs to lie in standing water, feces, or urine that would have violated the law. Interesting that he would veto that. I don't actually know what the bill is. I might actually look into that just to see what it's all about. As a dog owner myself, I actually have a doggy door. So I have let my dog have free reign in the backyard and the downstairs living room area. So I don't really have to worry about him doing that. I also make sure that he has plenty of water in the summer months because it does get hot here in Texas. Anyways, leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are on any of these proposals. Am I too harsh by saying that I won't recognize transgender children? Should I get with the times, or do you actually agree with me? Anyways, smash the like and subscribe button, share my content, but most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.